And hello. What's good, everybody? Prophet underscore 414 here again with another video. Continuing from the last video, that was my lighter, excuse me. The last video where I told y'all and introduced y'all about my past stories and escapades, what I used to do and how it all started and where I, got introduced to weed. But yeah, today I'm about to continue with part 2 of getting caught by moms. Mama Dukes caught the old boy very early when I started smoking too, which was some shit, but actually like the best thing that could have happened because like it made it just really less stressful between everything. But yeah, drop a like, subscribe, comment. Appreciate you guys for even joining in, tuning in. Hope you guys got your bowl packed because that's what we're doing. I'm about to rip mine before we get into this. Cheers. Man. Okay. Whew. So like I said before, I was like not into weed. My first official time smoking was, you guys know, some shit. And my first time getting high was like amazing. And just to add more context, like I said, back in the day, like freshman year, I was not getting high like at all. Like I looked at weed like, bro, this is some devil shit, like some shit that's gonna lead you to like crackhead shit, like all that type of shit. Like I was not with it. And I remember one time specifically, like I was fucking in the locker rooms at gym and it was just me and my niggas chilling. But then like it was only us three and all the other, like, you know how you have like your main circle of homies and shit. But then it's like, and you got obviously like classmates and acquaintances that you cool with and shit. It was like, no, none of them niggas was like around that day. It was just like me and my little two other fucking friends in the locker room. We're like, what the fuck? Where is everybody? And we hear like giggling and like weird shit. And we go to the back. It's like our whole class is back there, just niggas. And them niggas had a blunt. And I remember I looked back and I was like, my eyes like lit up like a fucking Christmas tree. I'm like, whoa, like I had never seen weed, been exposed to it at this time, like nothing. This was before I even got high or any of that shit that I said the first time. But like, this is just how I used to be in the early time, like before it. And it was like, I remember my eyes just opened up like, whoa, that's a blunt? Like, whoa. And it just all kind of made sense. Like, it was like, oh, okay, I get it now. And then like they was sparking it up, and I just remember there was this African nigga in our class named fucking something, I don't remember, and he hit that shit, and it was like dude just was like just dying, coughing up a lung, and I remember I was like, whoa. And then I remember like I wasn't really the coolest with these niggas, but like I was kind of cool with them, and I remember like they looked back and they were like, what's good, bro? You gonna hit it? And I'm like, nah. Like I was like such a hoe. I'm like, nah, I'm not. Like I had such a bitch look in my eyes, and they're just like, well then what the fuck you back here for? Like move, bro. Like this ain't no place for no kids. Like watch out. And I'm like, damn. Like, and I just got the fuck from up over under there, and like I remember bro was so slapped. The dude who hit the blunt when we came back to class, he was acting so funny and shit. Like it was just so ugly. Not that that influenced me, but like that was just some ugly ass shit. And like that, just to say all that was like all this happened at the time I was like a freshman at this stupid ass school. Like, cause my mom pulled me out of my original like like fucking middle school. Like it was weird. Like I went to a weird ass high school that I had none of my, like usually niggas in middle school would be like, well, we are cool, so we going to this high school, they cool, they going to that high school. Like shit, I went to some shit that none of my middle school people was at, so it was just me by myself already on some weird shit. Like, I didn't even know anybody. But to say all that is like, all this shit happened in the span of me being there. Like, getting caught, like, all this shit happened when I was there. Because I remember the last video I told y'all that I told her I was a hoe. When I smoked for the first time, I told her. Like, but when I first got high, I didn't tell her and shit. So, whatever. All that shit happened. And now I'm after I get high for the first time with my niggas that time at the beach, I'm just smoking on the weekend and shit, you know, when I can. And when we get money, we be smoking. So, like, I think I acquired like a little, I didn't have a real bong. I just had like a bunch of fucking fiend shit. Like, we made homemade bongs out of fucking Gatorade bottles and coffee creamers, or the coffee mate things that be in the refrigerated aisle and shit. Like, I remember I had one of those in my book bag, and I had a lighter and maybe a grinder and just like a pipe. I remember I had a pipe and a bunch of shit that I acquired over this, that I acquired over just through, I think I got the pipe from one of my niggas, like, oh, here you go and shit, like, just so you can have your own and shit. And the grind, same, maybe, and I was just holding the shit. I don't remember now that I think about it. But anyway, I had all this shit in my book bag, and I remember it was like a fucking Wednesday or something, and I came home early as fuck. My dad dropped me off because my parents split and shit. So my dad dropped me off, and like, I just remember I was so happy. I'm like, man, niggas about to go to school. Niggas finna have a good day, good week. Like, and then at the end of the week, like, I'm finna smoke. Like, I already made plans with them and shit. My niggas, I'm like, we finna smoke. So let me go look at the shit, the paraphernalia, and just think about the good times and shit. I get in my house, and I had kept it under my bed. I look under my fucking bed. Nothing. I'm like, oh fucking shit. My heart literally stopped. Like, it was like, you know, when you take a fat ass hit of weed for the first time, or like a new drug for the first time, like, and that shit just whack you. Like, that's how it felt. Like, my whole world flipped upside down. Like, the room I was in got smaller. I just knew my reality was fucking over, because like, Black's moms just don't play that shit. I already knew, bro. And I just knew she took it. Like, the fuck? I live with my mom and my grandma. My grandma never go in my room, so I knew it was her. It was over. And I'm like, just sitting there thinking like, shit, what do I do? I just sat there, act like I was the responsible kid, and read a book. Nigga, she came, as soon as I sat down on the bed, she came down the steps. Do. I'm like, oh, fuck. Here we go. Burst in the door, snatched me up on the wall with the bag. I'm like, oh, shit. She like, what is this? What is this? I'm like, what you mean? She like, nah, you smoking weed and shit. Like, you didn't tell me you smoking weed. You doing this shit. Like, man, fucking, she had the shit laid out on the table. She woke my grandma up. Grandma started crying and shit. My mom's crying, making me feel bad and shit. And like, you gotta tell Pops. Like, we ain't telling him and shit. And that's what really made me scared. I'm like, oh, fuck, bro. Like, fuck. Like, my life is over, bro. Like, it was already over, but my life really finna be over, bro. And, man, like, that shit was fucked up. Like, it was so bad. Like, I was so scared. But y'all wanna know the crazy part? Because this is how cool me and my mom is. So it was like, that shit happened Wednesday, right? I went to school, told my niggas everything that happened. Because I'm pretty sure I may have had some bullshit ass phone at that time. Told my niggas everything that happened. I was fucked. I ain't tell my dad that day because I just didn't. I didn't want to do it. But I remember talking to my mom the next day, and I lied and said I did. So she just couldn't be on my ass about that. And then we start chopping it up just in general, and we kind of squashed this shit because she told me she used to smoke and still do, and I thought it was kind of cool and shit. So I'm like, on what? So we get to fucking talking more, and then I don't know how it came up, but she's like, I'm like, yeah, I get my weed from this nigga at school and shit. We go to the bathroom, woo, and I get 2 for $15. And she like, you get what for what? Nah, I ain't never heard of that. I'm like, nah, for real, dude. Like, my nigga be plugging and shit. She like, nah, you bullshitting. Hell nah. I'm like, I'll bring this shit in tomorrow. Okay. I go to school that day. I get my shit. Woody woo. 2 for the 15. Come in next morning. I wake her up. I'm like, look, here go the weed. She like, never. I'm like, yeah, told you. I literally told you. I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck? I'm literally showing my mom where I get my weed, the weed and all this shit, and she's cool with it. Like 2 days after we fucking just argued over this shit. Fucking. And then, surprisingly enough, it was a Friday, so I had school. I'm like, you want to smoke? Because I smoked before school when I could anyway. And she like, yeah, I'll smoke. We smoke out of my little coffee creamer ass bong and get high as fuck. Like, high. And I just thought it was the coolest shit ever. Like, it didn't motivate me to do better in school whatsoever. Fuck that shit. But I definitely was, like, motivated in life to, like, because I always knew I was just going to smoke weed. And it just made it, like, reassuring that we could bond and, like, smoke weed, like, together on some shit. Like, it felt cool that I didn't have to hide that shit. At least from her. And then we smoked. We went to the bathroom downstairs in my house. And then she's like, damn, your breath smell like weed. You need to take something for that. And I'm like, shit, okay. And she gave me some Listerine, and it was the golden one. And I'm like, ugh, this go taste like ass. And she like, nah, just take a little sip for me. And I did and shit. That shit tasted like iron, like literal blood. And I fucking made like the SpongeBob face when he ate Gary's food, and like the blah, like that shit was disgusting. But we both thought it was the funniest shit ever, I remember, and we were crying in the bathroom laughing. And my grandma was like, what y'all doing and shit, and like that shit was hilarious. And she dropped me off in school and I was chopped in the car. And I remember she was like, can you go to school? And I looked at her like, yo, I can go to school. I do it all the time. What are you talking about? You just caught on. And I walked my ass through the front door. Had a great Friday. From what I can't remember. But yeah. That was how I got caught. Smoking weed. Just so that she could smoke weed with me. Like she says, I recently just talked to her about this. And she says it was like a month after she caught me. I remember fucking in the same week we got smacked. Because it was just crazy to me. It was just crazy. It made me feel like I had the coolest mom in the fucking world. Like, it was insanity that I could do that shit. Wild. And she was up on, like, all the time. Man, that reminds me of smoking before school with my nigga at Subway and shit. But I'll get into that later. Because she used to drop me off for those sessions, too, when I tell her. But anyway, thanks for listening and viewing to the end, you guys. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you guys got caught by your parents or if they just didn't even give a fuck. Let me know. And yeah, peace.